favorite morning show, Every Woman on AtikuLive. We'd like to apologize for starting late due to technical issues. My name is Tiana Waltz-Barcy, and I'm super excited to have you guys join me again today. And I have with me here IJ.
Hi guys, thank you for joining us as usual. My name is Ijoma Udumodu, and today we're looking at policy development for women in nation building.
I think we actually planned this color code thing.
Yes, we're actually wearing the same pants.
Okay, so we're looking at policy development for women in Nigerian women, basically in nation building. And our key focus today would have to be some of these policies that affect women. Some of these policies that affect women and restrict women from contributing, like you say, and in turn affect the nation building. I mean, we're talking about nation development here. So we're looking at these policies, and one of the policies, I call it the foundational policy because everything starts from there. We've been saying this over time. All the topics we've been talking about, we've been saying it, that we live in a traditional cultural setting that actually affects a lot of things that we do as women. I mean, I've heard someone say that the African culture does not support the woman. I wouldn't doubt or think otherwise. It's basically true. And this policy would be the customary laws.
Yes, I agree.
Laws that restrict women from inheriting landed properties and having inheritance.
Or the customary laws and how barbaric they are, with regards to women or widows, specifically when widows die and they have to marry them off. And it's like, okay, so when you talk about inheritance, like you're talking about women inheriting, first of all, they regard women as property. So it just follows like, property cannot be inheriting property. That's how they see it in customary laws. And this is why women are not even allowed to inherit property in certain laws and certain cultures. And then you have more than that, more than the fact that they've termed women property that can't inherit property. These women are property that can be inherited. So if your husband dies in certain cultures, a male member of the family designated gets to inherit you as part of the property. So you're not counted as important. You're not even counted as you're looked upon as a property to be inherited by somebody else. And, that's just wrong because these women have their own rights.
We're going to be looking at actual policies, right? We're going to be looking at actual laws that affects the woman. And I'll be looking at, by virtue of Section 118G of the Police Act, married women are prevented from seeking enlistment in the Nigerian police force. Also, under Section 127, when an unmarried policewoman is pregnant, she will be discharged from the police force. I mean, discharged.
She can only be reinstated
under
the approval of the
IG.
So, I mean, this is just...
I want to laugh. Let me laugh first. Like, you're dismissing her. There's no room for, okay, I think we have rooms for maternity leave. Okay, you just want her to leave the force.
Length, that is still something else we need to look at. The maternity leave. How long is it? Is it enough time for these women to, get back to themselves and get back into work? Those also need to be looked at.
It's something that, I mean, when we're looking at women involvement in several sectors in Nigeria, from politics to health, and to I think one of the areas that we didn't really look at is some of these uniform jobs, right? Women who are enrolled in the army, in the navy, in the air force. You realize that the kind of the situation where they find themselves, or the look at which they're expected to operate, is different from the men.
Yes, and I think in this context now, like to pick up from what you're saying now, if you're looking at laws like the Labour Act, it restricts women. I mean, there used to be Section 55, or there was Section 55. There is Section 55 that actually prevents women from working overnight jobs except as nurses. So you wonder why we have laws or policies that restrict women from performing at their best. And when we now talk about it, like if we're trying to relate it back to nation building, if you're having these women not functioning at optimal, they're not functioning at their full capacity, how are they supposed to contribute to nation building? How are they supposed to contribute their quota to see that this country grows, or it grows to the point that it's supposed to?
It's something that we really need to look at, because some of these laws need to be reformed. They need to be amended. Some of them need to really be worked on. I'm going to look at another one. And under Section 55 of the Penal Code, husbands are permitted to chastise their wives.
This is where domestic violence has its roots. This is where domestic violence really has its roots. You cannot in any way, in any format, encourage a man to hit his wife, to hit his spouse for anything. And I think, this is actually broken down into the subsections of this provision. Actually breaks it down. But you cannot in any format, in any way, permit men, for whatever reason, to hit their wives. That's wrong. This is where domestic violence finds its roots.
I think when we were talking about domestic violence, something popped up here, and it said marital or spousal rape is not a crime in Nigeria. This is no longer the case by virtue of violence against persons. Like
the other act is arguably, that act has actually gone to check that problem. Really, it's actually checked that.
So let's really talk about women involvement in nation building. We cannot stress it enough. We can't say it enough. We've always been looking at the fact that a woman, and if I were talking about it yesterday or 2 days ago, we said some of these agencies that women have been made director generals of, you find out the progress they make in the shortest time. They get into the work or get into action, and in the time of their appointment, you realize that the trademark of their success and the progress is unarguable. It's there. It's something that is glaring. And times without number, we've always used Dora Akunyili as an example. When she was DG of NAFDAC, we've seen some of the work she has done. And this is not something that they just write on paper. It's there, black and white. It's for everybody to see that something is happening, and it's happening real fast. All right, guys, we're going to go on a very quick break. When we're right back, we'll pick up from where we stopped. Stay with us.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 2023 AtikuLive 2023. I have my co-pilot here with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, keeping track on all navigation systems. Our destination is a united Nigeria. Right now, we're cruising at 2022 feet above sea level. Before we arrive at our destination, let me give you a brief update on what to expect at our destination. Number 1. The temperature is going to be hot on security issues. 2, the people are going to be better educated, and the educational system and healthcare will be accessible to every citizen. 3, the economy is going to be thriving and booming. And of course, there'll be true federalism. This and many more to be expected for a united and prosperous Nigeria. So sit back and relax, and before you know it, if we all join hands together, we shall arrive at the new united Nigeria we all dream of soon enough. My name is Atiku Abubakar. As one, we can get it done. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 2023 AtikuLive 2023. I have my co-pilot here with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, keeping track on all navigation systems. Our destination is a united Nigeria. Right now, we're cruising at 2022 feet above sea level. Before we arrive at our destination, let me give you a brief update on what to expect at our destination. Number 1. The temperature is going to be hot on security issues. 2, the people are going to be better educated, and the educational system and healthcare will be accessible to every citizen. 3, the economy is going to be thriving and booming. And of course, there'll be true federalism. This and many more to be expected for a united and prosperous Nigeria. So sit back and relax, and before you know it, if we all join hands together, we shall arrive at the new united Nigeria we all dream of soon enough. My name is Atiku Abubakar. As one, we can get it done. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 2023 AtikuLive 2023. I have my co-pilot here with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, keeping track on all navigation systems. Our destination is a united Nigeria. Right now, we're cruising at 2022 feet above sea level. Before we arrive at our destination, let me give you a brief update on what to expect at our destination. Number 1. The temperature is going to be hot on security issues. 2. The people are going to be better educated, and the educational system and healthcare will be accessible to every citizen. 3. The economy is going to be thriving and booming. And of course, there'll be true federalism. This and many more to be expected for a united and prosperous Nigeria. So sit back and relax, and before you know it, if we all join hands together, we shall arrive at the new united Nigeria we all dream of soon enough. My name is Atiku Abubakar. As one, we can get it done. Hello, ladies.
Policy development for women in nation building. It's been an amazing time here on the show. We have a guest. We're going to be talking to our guest real quick. His name is Douglas Magaji. He's a legal practitioner and a human rights activist. Douglas, can you hear us? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right.
Okay, so before we went on break, actually, we were looking at laws that, or policies rather, that affect the proper participation of women in Nigeria from contributing to national development and nation building, really. So we looked at the labor, some sections, section 55 of the labor law, some of the penal code act, that prevented the labor section 55 of the labor act prevented women from working overnight jobs, except as nurses. Yeah. Then we also looked at customary laws that prohibited women from owning lands or from inheritance, and preservation due to preservation of bloodline. And then we also looked at section 118G of the Police Act that prevented married women from being and seeking enlistment into the Nigerian police, and section 127 also that stated that unmarried women or unmarried police women, when pregnant, will be discharged from the police force and can only be reinstated by the approval of the Inspector General of Police.
I mean, we also looked at the penal code of Section 55 that husbands are permitted to chastise their wives. We also talked about that.
So why do we have laws like this that seem to be that seems to be against the women, really?
Thanks for this question. It's fundamental. I think basically it's because the structure of the Nigerian legal system allows for laws like this. Now, I will make reference to section 42 of the Constitution. Now, section 42 of the Constitution provides that there shall be no discrimination of any kind. If you're reading through the lines of this section, the word sex is expressly mentioned. That means there shall be no discrimination of any person by reason of that person's gender. Clearly stipulated. Now, for section 42 sub 3.
Yes, it's ambiguous.
It went ahead. It goes ahead to allow the National Assembly to pass laws that can restrict the employment or appointment of women into the armed forces or to the Nigerian police forces. And that is why we cannot say the Police Act, which you mentioned, those sections are unconstitutional. They are not good, but they are still constitutional because the Constitution allows for them.
Wow.
Now, secondly, the Constitution also allows the restriction of persons to be appointed into the Nigerian Army. So you can have restrictive provision in the Armed Forces Act of the Federation, and then those provisions will still be legal because of the operation of subsection 3 of section 42 of the Constitution. However, these are the only instances where laws may be made to restrict women participation in appointment or any government parastatal. But the Constitution also in section, I think 26 or 27, I think or thereabout, provides that the marriage of a man confers citizenship on his
wife, but not
and
the same for the female counterparts.
How did we even forget that?
Yes. So, and it also it did not provide or did not have any corresponding provision for women. That means your spouses as women are not citizens of Nigeria, cannot be citizens of Nigeria by registration. It is discriminatory in its very self. So, this is not contemplated. When Section 43 of the Constitution was drafted, this part was totally ignored because that section completely discriminates against women. Now, there have been efforts to see that the gender bill goes through, but we know what happened in March. It was kicked out of the House, and so many protests from women protested against that. And in fact, people are still proposing to send a gender bill to the House again. Now, when the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria lays the foundation for discrimination, of course, all other policies, all other laws are likely to be discriminatory against women. So unless we address the foundation, which is the Constitution, and provide expressly that women shall not be discriminated against in employment and on any sphere of governance, we will continue to have this conversation over and over again, and we may not have a lasting solution.
Why?
I have said, yes, I'm listening.
For this gender bill, like you mentioned, has been in contention for a long time. We've seen this bill rejected over time, and especially by the male senators. I think the only male senator really that seems to be in support of this bill is Senator Chimaroke Namani. But why are the male senators? Why is this bill being kicked against?
No, I think the male feel threatened because usually we say men have egos, and then the gender bill is trying to give us an egalitarian society, a society where we will not have dominance of a particular gender. Now, look at modern drafting techniques of bills. I work in the National Assembly, so I have to some extent drafted a couple of bills. If you look at modern drafting techniques, we have been urged to use gender-neutral terms. Like instead of using he, we use such person. Instead of using he, because if you check our laws, most laws is like he, it shall be, he shall.
It's discriminatory in nature.
It's indirectly saying that, okay, the person who appointed to this office shall be a male, who should be of the masculine gender. So, and that is why most male are very comfortable with the situation we have in the country right now. They're comfortable with our laws, and they have kicked against any attempt to alter these laws because they want a situation where there will continually be a dominance of the masculine gender. I think that's why most male senators and members of the House of Reps have been kicking against the gender bill.
So, Douglas, how far has the government gone to ensure women-centered policies?
Okay, this government per se, I don't think this government has put women at the center of its policy making.
They haven't put anything at all.
The president has made so many remarks, and then which discriminatory in itself. I think the president came out to say women belong to the other room. I don't know if you can remember that. So I've not seen any concrete policy of the government that is aimed at providing a level playing ground for all gender, notwithstanding the fact that women have proven to be very efficient in economic development. I can make reference to several situations where when Okonjo-Iweala was a Minister of Finance, our naira was thriving against the dollar. Yeah. We were doing well economically. Yes. Now, this is a woman who has understood the rudiments of. She has understood how these things work, and there are several women like her who have ideas, who have vision of bringing Nigeria out of its current mess, but they won't be given the opportunity to do so because of the very fact that they are women. And in appointment of ministers, appointment of heads of government parastatals, this administration has not really been fair to the feminine gender because it has been predominantly male. So I wouldn't rate the policy of this administration as fair enough to provide a level playing ground for all gender.
So now, what we should be looking at now, I think, is the importance of women involvement in nation building. How important are women? What is the role that women have to play in nation building? And how have these policies, hindered them from, performing these roles?
Now, also, I think what we should also be looking at is trying to hold our political aspirants accountable. Like we're trying to develop like a charter of demand, where if we are saying, if we're going to elect you into a particular office, maybe as the president of Nigeria, okay, tell us the level, tell us the ratio of inclusiveness of your policy. Let us know if you're going to have 30 ministers. Let's know how many females are going to be appointed to ministerial positions. You're going to have heads of 40 parastatals. How many women are you going to give us? So it's time to start holding
aspirants accountable.
Accountable, yeah.
Let's give them a charter of demand. Yes, this is what we want. We want inclusive government where all genders will be given equal opportunities to showcase what they have towards nation building.
Okay, aside from let's look at gender inequality now. Aside from amending the constitution, like you said, which you said that's like the first step we need to do, look into the constitution and see areas where we can amend. What other possible steps can be taken to ensure that this issue about gender disparity is being curbed, this menace is being put under control?
I think we need a reorientation. Yeah, most times if you have lived or live in the north, you realize that this the patriarchal stuff is stronger in the north. That's because women are seen as commodity. So if government can set in place policies that would aim at educating people, students from a very tender age, on the need to give
be educated,
opportunities to persons regardless. Yes, I think we should try to impute, or to inculcate, or to include this in our education policies, in our curriculum, in our primaries and secondary schools.
Yeah.
And I think there should be a national orientation that is aimed at sensitizing the population on what women can do and what women have achieved and their potentials. And if that is done, I think that will begin to change the minds of a lot of Nigerians, or would change the perception of a lot of Nigerians on women.
Can we quickly look at some of the effects? What are some of the effects of these poor policies on women and their development, really?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't get your question.
What are some of the effects, of formulation and implementation of poor policies that affect women negatively? What are some of these effects on women development and contribution?
All right. Now, I think one of the effects is that most women, they tend to have lower self-esteem because of the way the society has looked at them. So you tend to see a lot of human capital being wasted. Mostly is because of the paucity of opportunities. They go into early marriages. They go into other maybe businesses. They go into things that do not really speak of their potentials. So we've seen ladies running into marriages because they feel maybe that's the goal.
As a way out.
We live in a country, in an economy which does not allow them to thrive because of their gender. They look at other options, going to marriage because they need to be happy.
Okay, so wow. I also want to ask, how can we go about formulating the right policies, or advocating for the right policies to protect us? Because we know at the end of the day, this is where it all comes down to.
Now, there are some organizations. There are some how do you even call them? I'm trying to look for the right name to use for them. Some international organizations that have been at the forefront of advocating for,
like the UNCHR.
Yes, we have the FIDA, Federation International of Women Lawyers, something like that. FIDA. Okay. We have so many international organizations that are at the forefront of this fight. Now, if you liaise with these organizations, you will realize that they have been for several years pushing for inclusiveness in government policy, pushing for inclusiveness in frameworks that drives the economy. Countries like the United States, it didn't start today. You don't achieve this in one day. You don't achieve this in 1 week. It's a continuous battle, it's a continuous struggle, it's a continuous fight. And then when you get defeated today, you don't go to bed and sleep. Just like the gender bill.
The gender bills, yeah.
Of Nigeria legislature several times. So it's my advice would be that keep forming unions, keep pushing. One day we'll achieve a society where we all want to live in, where our children will be proud and say, okay, yeah, we live in a society that provides, that allows us to thrive regardless of our gender, regardless of our ethnicity and whatnot. So I think the fight does not stop. When you get beaten, you don't sleep and then say, okay, yeah, you've been beaten, and that's go. You keep fighting, you get up, and then you keep pushing, and that's how it works.
Okay, Douglas. Just before we let you go, a quick question. In view of the 2023 elections, I mean, campaigns will be starting any moment from now. What are the immediate steps that can be taken to get these women involved? Let's